we are in control of our mind.
Manage your mind.
Your brain does exactly what it thinks you want it to do.
Want success? Model the best. So today, let's learn one of the most common rules that successful people follow: control your mind.
Our mind wants to protect us. The mind is like, honestly, it has a tactical advantage over us. It knows our deepest, darkest fears or insecurities. It knows where we start to feel, we start getting that doubt creeping that says, hey man, you know what, man, maybe this isn't good. Let's go back home to the wife. Let's go back home to the kids. This is not comfortable. So in that moment, the mind directs us. It's a protective mechanism. It saves us from doing bodily harm, or it really saves us from discovering that the mind's like, I want to be in charge of you. I don't want you to be in charge of me. So it tells you, let's just stop right here. But once you start breaking through that barrier and start breaking down that governor that you've put in your mind, because we forget we are in control of our mind. We believe it's the other way around. No, we put in our minds what we should do, but we believe our mind is telling us, it's giving us all this feedback. We have to reprogram it and tell us, no, we're good. We're good, this sucks, but it's okay.
Do you have a mindfulness or meditative practice that you used while you played?
Yeah, well, Phil introduced meditation to us when he came to our team in 99, 2000. And it was something that I instantly gravitated to because I could see the effects. Right? When I used to watch, studying the games, the Bulls teams, and watching their demeanor, watching their composure, playing in a tough place in like Utah, doing the finals and being down 17. But everybody was like this. Right? You couldn't tell if they were down 17 or up 20 or a tie game. It never changed. And I was wondering why the hell that is. And that's when I started doing more research. And when Phil came, I immediately gravitated to it and then found myself accepting the challenge of finding what that space is. And for the 81-point game, man, to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about the game. My knee was hurting so much. I didn't know then, but I had a flap of joint of cartilage stuck in my joint line. And so my mind was really trying to go to a place where I don't feel that pain. And the game started, and because of that, I was just in a different space. I wasn't worried about what was to come. I wasn't worried about what just happened. I was just here. And when you're just there in the moment, playing plays right in front of you, your focus is heightened because nothing else matters. And that's the space I've tried to get to.
Something that probably a lot of people don't know about me, I don't f with the ocean. The ocean is like the ultimate woman. She is beautiful and she will nourish you, but she will tear you to shreds also. The ocean is my worst fear. I don't know what it is or where it came from, but there's something about not being able to breathe. I've tried snorkeling before and I was hyperventilating. My 50th birthday is this year. I just wasn't gonna go into the back nine of my life without having attacked my fear of the ocean.
So we're about to scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef. I've never scuba dove. I've never been scuba divish before.
So we're taking a boat ride out and we go through a storm.
Reporting to you live from a storm on a boat. We're headed out to a dive site. Oh my goodness! Did you feel that? Did you feel that? Back to you in the studio, Sandy.
Probably 25 years old in my mind, and I knew that I would be here one day. So I'm ready.
This is stupid. All right, I'm not going.
Come on, this will be the hardest part of your
I know, right? Is it okay to punch sharks in the face? You're like, back up with your shark ass. Back up with your shark ass. Shark ass, back up. Shark jab, shark jab. I got it. The first fish we see is a shark. Come on.
I'm not doing another dive today.
The question isn't, can you handle the situation? The question is, can you handle your mind? Can you manage the thoughts and the emotions that are trying to poison your progress? Forget managing the situation. Manage your mind. Training your mind to sit calmly in the eye of the storm.
The Newtonian world is all about the predictable. It's all about predicting a future. But the quantum model of reality is about causing an effect. The moment you start feeling abundant and worthy, you are generating wealth. The moment you're empowered and feel it, you're beginning to step towards your success. The moment you start feeling whole, your healing begins. And when you love yourself and you love all of life, you'll create an equal. And now you're causing an effect. And I think that's the difference between living as a victim in your world, saying, I am this way because of this person or that thing or this experience. They made me think and feel this way. When you switch that around, you become a creator of your world, and you start saying, my thinking and my feeling is changing an outcome in my life. And now, that's a whole different game, and we start believing more that we're creators of reality.
How do we then go from that, like mechanistically, to begin this visualization process of something that's empowering? It's me in a different state, it's my future self. Is it meditation? What does that look like?
If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. And if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision in the future, as you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time, it's no longer that your personality is creating your personal reality. Now your personal reality is affecting or creating your personality. Your environment is really controlling how you think and feel unconsciously, because every person, everything, every place, every experience has a neurological network in your brain. Every experience that you have with every person produces an emotion. So some people will use their boss to reaffirm their addiction to judgment. They'll use their enemy to reaffirm their addiction to hatred. They'll use their friends to reaffirm their addiction to suffering. So now they need the outer world to feel something. So to change then is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world. And the environment is that seductive. So then why is meditation the tool? Well, let's sit down, let's close our eyes. Let's disconnect from your outer environment. So if you're seeing less things, there's less stimulation going to your brain. If you're playing soft music or you have earplugs in, less sensory information coming to your brain, so you're disconnecting from your environment. If you can sit your body down and tell it to stay like an animal, stay right here. I'm going to feed you when we're done. You can get up and check your emails. You can do all your texts. But right now, you're going to sit there and obey me. So then, when you do that properly, and you're not eating anything or smelling anything or tasting anything, you're not up experiencing and feeling anything, you would have to agree with me that you're being defined by a thought, right? So when the body wants to go back to its emotional past, and you become aware that your attention is on that emotion, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy, you're siphoning your energy out of the present moment into the past, and you become aware of that. And you settle your body back down in the present moment, because it's saying, well, it's 8 o'clock. You normally get upset because you're in traffic around this time, and here you are sitting, and we're used to feeling anger, and you're off schedule. Oh, it's 11 o'clock, and you usually check your emails and judge everybody. Well, the body's looking for that predictable chemical state. Every time you become aware that you're doing that and your body is craving those emotions and you settle it back down into the present moment, you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And now your will is getting greater than the program. And if you keep doing this over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, just like training a stallion or a dog, it's just going to say, I'm going to sit. And the moment that happens, when the body's no longer the mind, when it finally surrenders, there's a liberation of energy. We go from particle to wave, from matter to energy, and we free ourselves from the chains of those emotions that keep us in the familiar past. And we've seen this thousands of times. In fact, we can actually predict it now on a brain scan.
Also, if you want to learn how to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free, and the links are in the description below.
If you wake up in the morning and you're dreading going to work, dude, do something else. Right. Do something else. And those are hard decisions to make, but when you make those decisions, it's a very liberating experience.
Everything I didn't want to do is what got me to where I'm at today.
It takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on on the level that I want to make movies.
Explain the mission, why you're doing this, why it's so important to you. It's not just about setting the world records, but why do you do this?
Yes, as I said, I did a lot of stuff outside in nature because I felt this disconnection from nature inside, from the soul itself. Soul is not able to express, and you can see it in the world full of depression and autoimmune diseases, cancer, all those things, and anxiety. So nobody knows actually, it's because of the disconnection of nature. So it resulted in me in an awkward feeling. I don't know what there is, but there is more than meets the eye. I'm going into a soul search. And that brought me to all kinds of traditions, esoteric disciplines, languages, religions, debates about philosophies, cultures, anything, you know? But in the end, it didn't connect with me. That's what the cold water came in. And the cold water is merciless but righteous.
Okay.
So, boom, hey, you gotta be there.
Right.
But little by little, you begin to wake up to that, what you feel inside. It's beginning to wake up. A real primordial disconnection is beginning to connect to your consciousness, brain-body connection. And now, after doing 26 of those world records, but numerous more challenges, gotten in contact with scientists, and then it came about that I was awakening, stimulating, influencing systems within the body they thought of not being able to be influenced or connected with for humans. They thought, hey, humans cannot tap in. It's an autonomic nervous system. It's an autonomic process outside of our will. But brain-body connection, remember connection? There it is. And now I'm able to connect, enter, and make the difference. And that's what I did in the studies.
Wim's mission is to use his body as a laboratory to revolutionize our understanding of physiology. In 2011, he was injected with a bacterial endotoxin in an experiment that challenged our understanding of the nervous system. In normal humans, the injection should cause a strong immune response, leading to fever, chills, and headaches, but not in Wim. It appeared that he was somehow able to suppress his immune response by making his body secrete adrenaline, suggesting that his method can allow us to influence our immune system at will. Scientists thought he might just be a freak of nature, so to further prove this theory, they performed the same experiment on 12 subjects Wim had trained in Poland, and the same thing happened.
Proof you only get after competitive study with groups. So I took on a full group. I trained them 4 days to get into the autonomic nervous system and all those things. And they got administered with the bacteria and as well, all within a quarter of an hour entering into those systems. And now we are getting somewhere. The power of the mind. Yeah, we are dealing in modern day society. We can go to the moon, we can go to Mars and everywhere, but we cannot tap into the depth of ourselves and make the difference with the depression, anxiety, fear, trauma, PTSD, anything.
Your mind gravitates towards which it is most familiar with. And so if you're really familiar with what you're worried about and what your problems are and your fears are, and that becomes your dominating thinking, I know you've all heard this, but here's the reason why. Your mind loves what's familiar. Okay. And so if you don't go touch dreams, for example, just experience it for a second. For example, we would go down once every 8 weeks. If I did well in business, we really knocked it out. We could find a deal. I had $200. We'd go to the Ritz-Carlton or some hotel, Ocean, and for one day oceanfront, feel like what it felt like to valet your car. Right? Walk in the lobby. Mr. Milet, welcome back, right? She'd go get a massage. I'd play a little bit of golf. And just for that day, I'd touch the dream. And then maybe we do it again in a month or two and again in a month, just little tastes of it. My mind began to become familiar with it. And more crazy, I started to kind of trick myself into thinking I belonged there. Because we never end up anywhere we don't believe we don't belong, and then we're not familiar with. So there's these things you'd like to do in your life, either visually seeing them over and over again and repeating those images to yourself, that's powerful, but a double whammy is to not only repeat them and see them, but to go see, there's one thing that's a visual stimulus in your brain that makes you want to do something. The triple whammy is if you could see it, touch it, feel it, and smell it. If you allow all your senses to experience something, it becomes far more familiar to your brain. And so I'm a massive advocate of touching a dream in any form you can get it, the best of which is actually going and experiencing it short term. If you begin to believe you belong there, you're a little bit better. And so you will not probably produce many things in your life that you've not visited either mentally or literally thousands of times. And so if you want to end up somewhere, you better be visiting them. Those could be dreams, visions, but the most important thing is if you could actually, more powerful, is if you could go touch them short term, massive difference. Drive by the neighborhood, see the cars. If you want to spend your life in service for your church or your community, take a day out every month and actually do it. Know what it feels like for an afternoon to feed the homeless and you begin to love it and feel it and believe you belong there, more and more chance that you'll be able to do that full time someday.
When I first met, because we didn't talk about punching and moving your head, we all talk about the psychology of boxing and the psychology of fear. And he had the psychology of fear down to a science. That was it was all psychological because Cus believed boxing was 90% psychological and 10% physical. And I was pretty much a psychological fighter, even though I would come across fierce. That's all part of the psychological game, intimidation, being the tough guy, and all these antics. And it was very successful towards me.
People think the brain's really complicated. It's not. It's actually quite simple. You only need to know 3 things about your brain to always get what you want. And the first thing is your brain does exactly what it thinks you want it to do because it listens to everything you say. So when you say things like, oh God, I got dumped, it was so painful, I never want to go through that again, all your mind can pick up is you don't want to be in a relationship again. When people have a miscarriage and go, I could never go through that again. I'd rather die than go through that again. Your mind is picking up, oh, right. Well, that's a statement. That's actually a command to me to make sure you never go through a miscarriage again. And that's how you get unexplained infertility, which is something else I've been working on a lot recently. Because the mind listens to what you say. So people go, oh, I went on this flight, I thought I was going to die. And do it, they'll go, I'm never getting on a plane. If this plane lands, I will never, ever get on a plane again. And of course it lands, they go, oh, it was just turbulence. But next time they go to the airport, they have a massive panic attack because your mind's like, hang on a minute, you said I never want to fly again. And so if you haven't got what you want, it's because you're giving your mind very confusing messages. Your mind's number one job is to listen to what you say and to act on it. Its second job is to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And it will always, always, always do more to avoid pain. So let's imagine you've gone for an interview, you've done a public speech thing like me, and you've stood up, and you've gone, and you think, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. And you'd have a terrible presentation. And one of my clients who worked for Sony was saying that she had to stand up and just say to Sony, this is a new band from Camden. And she stood up and went, this is a new band from, and they're called, she said, I couldn't do it. It's the simplest thing. And my boss had to take over. And I was explaining to her that when you do that and go, oh my God, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this again. Your mind is now going to make sure you don't do it again. So the next time you go to speak, it will give you a panic attack. It will make you ill. And if you say to yourself, oh my God, I'd love a week off in bed, or I'm dreading next Wednesday, your mind is so in tune with you. Your week off in bed, you wake up with the flu, and your mind's like, there you go. How cool am I? There's your week in bed. You don't want to go to that speech? I've woken you up with diarrhea, so now you can't go. That's what the mind does. When I was giving my first ever presentation about my first ever book, I woke up with the most excruciating migraine I've ever had one before. I thought, wow, I must have been saying to myself somewhere, I don't want to do this because I've got this migraine. And I actually went and did it, and I didn't have the migraine until I stepped back off the stage again. And I realized that I was communicating very badly with myself. So you must never say nervous, say excited, because your mind listens. So those three things are, your mind does what it really thinks you want to do. If you're very, very specific and say, I want this and this, I want to be a great speaker, I want to deliver things, I want to be fantastic at sales, I want to be able to look people in the eye and sell them things and come across as really authentic, your mind will understand. And if you make those pictures really good and pleasant, you'll move towards them.
So subconscious is very moldable, and sits back here in your head, and through the power of mantra or affirmation, in Sanskrit language they call it mantra, you can actually shape and create patterns within your mind. And I'm sure when you run, and again I'm assuming that you say like, I can't do this, right? You don't say like, oh no, I'm going to fail.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
And through that repetition, you create patterns in your mind. So if you follow a precise technique and system, you'd create patterns in your subconscious, which then become extremely magnetic and start to attract like-minded people towards you. So I use those techniques. I had affirmations or mantras that I would say every morning and every night with, and what they consist of is a concise choice of positive words. So you never say something like, oh, I'd like to be surrounded by successful people, but if I don't, it's okay. That's not a mantra. It's like, I will surround myself with financially successful entrepreneurs who will teach me how to be successful.
Right.
And then it comes with the second thing that's important is a clear visualization. You have to have a clear visual concept of what the end product is going to look like. And then the third part of it, that's the most important component, is the feeling. You have to feel it, because feeling is emotion, emotion is energy, and energy is magnetic.
How do you feel it?
You remember a feeling of what it's like to experience sitting with someone who's a successful entrepreneur, spending time with them, walking away and asking yourself, wow, that felt really great. I learned so much and could really use these techniques in helping my business. Like, for example, if you win a race, you can remember the feeling of what it's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing an affirmation for your next race, you say, I will win this race, or I can win this race.
And you start to visualize that feeling you had when you won the last race.
Exactly. You visualize yourself going through the little ribbon. Okay, I don't know how your races are, right? You're walking through the ribbon.
Barbed wire in our case, but
barbed wire, exactly. Laser fence, right? Going through that, and then the feeling. What the feeling like was. The feeling is like to win that. So you hold all three in your mind at the same time and you repeat it. It creates a pattern in your subconscious, which then becomes extremely magnetic. It vibrates at a particular frequency of that success, and it attracts things of a similar nature.
If we think about the era that our parents lived, okay, Great Depression, right? Very, very hard to make money, very, very hard to find resources, very, very hard to do anything unless you're a professional. So our parents said to most of us, if you don't become a professional, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle and suffer. And even the professionals said, okay, so become a professional and here's your ceiling of what you have. So we became conditioned to be worried of scarcity in a world that has no scarcity. We became conditioned to having certain beliefs about what's possible or not possible. So even now, as we we're sitting here and we've got this, amazing election time.
Crazy.
One of the things I've been thinking about is, there are some people that believe that if Donald Trump wins, they're going to make a fortune. And there's other people that think they're going to lose everything. And I have a friend of mine who has got about $70 million in the bank that believes that if Hillary gets into office, he's going to lose millions. Wow. It's going to be really tough. And what really is going on in people's heads? It's all of their references, their beliefs and their perceptions that are locked away in the implicit part of their brain that is driving those thoughts and even the behaviors.
They may not even be aware of it.
They're not even aware of it, yeah. They can be, but they may not be. And so what we really have to go back to focus on is it really makes no difference who becomes president or who doesn't. If you have the belief that regardless of what happens in your external world, you can navigate towards the success that you want.
Right.
That's a belief. And beliefs are the lens by which we actually see the world and by which we behave. And so if you want to change your results, don't focus on changing your behaviors, change your focus on the beliefs that drive your behaviors.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from John Maxwell on how to shift your mindset that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the 3-point landing questions. Time to go from just watching a video to taking action. Here we go. Question number 1, what's the mindset shift that you need to make? Number 2, how can you tie making that mindset shift to accomplishing your dreams? And number 3, how will you practice that mindset shift on a daily basis?
Every miracle in the Bible has one thing in common, just one thing in common. Trust me on this, I've studied it. The only thing in common, every miracle in the Bible begins with a problem. You never see a miracle in the Bible without a problem first. There's a problem and then a miracle. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that when you have a problem, you're blessed because you're a candidate for a miracle. You see, the only person that has a problem is the person that doesn't have a problem. You see, if you have a little problem, you're a candidate for a little miracle. If you got a big problem, you're a candidate for a big miracle. I mean, choose the problem and choose the miracle. But if you have no problem, you're not a candidate for a miracle. I feel badly for you.
If you want motivation to keep on improving yourself, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Constant, never-ending improvement.
Improve yourself.
You can learn anything.